Rob, are you recording?
Yep.
Okay,
Started.
this is the Enfield Planning Board. It is October 23rd, 2024. Could you guys please keep it down? Thank you. We are at the Enfield DPW facility and also on the Microsoft Teams platform. Members present from my left.
Linda Jones.
Eric Russell.
Dan Kiley. I'm David Frack.
Brad Redkin.
Tim Jones.
Mark Hodge, alternate.
Bill Griffin, alternate. And staff.
Rob Taylor, staff.
Whitney Banker, also alternate.
Okay, I see Phil Vermeer is missing.
Yep, he's not coming.
He's not coming. Bill, would you like to step up and be a full member for this?
Sure.
Okay. I think that the boundary line adjustment hearing is not going to take very long, so my suggestion is to have that as the first hearing. Is there objection from board members? Okay.
No.
In that case, Roger and Martha Barnes, that's you, okay, are seeking boundary line adjustment approval to reconfigure their lot lines. The subject property is 0.416 acres and is located at 348 Shaker Boulevard, map 2, lot 3 in the R1 zoning district. The parcel is owned by Roger and Martha Barnes trustees. The Enfield ZBA has granted a variance Z 24-08-03 in anticipation of this land use case, as the BLA action will make the subject parcel more non-conforming. And if I'm understanding the application, it will make the other parcel, the sending parcel, less non-conforming, which is the reason why a variance was applied for and granted. And get rid of this stupid phone. I see you have a map. Somebody have a map?
Yeah, and I've also brought it up in here so you can see
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I'd like, Roger or Marta, whoever wants to speak, to please explain what you want to do and why you want to do it and show us where the new boundary line would be.
Well, the reason for changing the boundary line is to have our neighbors have access to the well that's in that 18 by 24 piece of land. So by adjusting our,
Straight there.
Oh, that one there.
that little
okay.
corner,
It's a little corner.
and by us making the line straight up from the lake to the road, then they would own that piece of property and the well in it, so that they could have access to water.
Okay, so your lot is lot 3. And the receiving lot is lot 4. So actually, as stated, lot 4 is the receiving lot and it would become less non-conforming.
Correct.
Yeah.
And lot 3 would become smaller, so it is more non-conforming. Is that the way the variance went through?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you wish to add?
Well, in the past, there was no road there. There was just a path, and our land extended across the road. So if the town used that for a road, how much better for our neighbors to use that little piece of land for water access?
Mm-hmm.
And the neighbors are also here. The receiving law, the owners are right here.
Okay. Anything else you wish to add?
I do. It's-
Questions from board members?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Right. This side of the table, Tim?
Just a matter of, administrative procedures. I think we requested that we, in the copies of these, that we get it. The minutes or something from the ZBA on the particular ruling they had. I don't need that tonight. I just,
I agree that is good practice and it should be in the board packet. So
otherwise I have no,
hopefully the next time,
make sure that
an issue comes up that involves another board's decision, we will have the copy of the decision in the board packet so we can review it prior to the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept this lot line adjustment as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions. You have your lot line adjustment and you have an 18 by 18 addition to your lot. 18 by 24?
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's bigger.
And they also inherited some of our golden boulders.
And I'm sure the assessor will raise your, all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rob, you will do a memo of
Yes.
boundary line
Affidavit.
adjustment.
Yep.
And I will sign it at some point. And all of that will happen within the next 2 weeks. You will receive a copy. And at that point, the Mylar can be filed with the registrar. Yes, sir.
Is it okay if I ask a question about that Mylar?
Yes.
Is it your planning board's request that the Mylar document not include the prior lot line? Meaning, do you want to have a reference of the former line on there, or do you want what it is going to exist as of tonight?
Generally, when we do lot line adjustments, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, the existing boundaries are shown and then the new boundary is also shown.
Yeah, your surveyor can also do an inset, like a small map of showing existing conditions, and then the big map could be what
Okay.
we'll record essentially. So that's the way they want to do it.
And before we go, I have a question. You said Roger and Martha Barnes. In the deed, it says Roger H. and Martha M.
Okay,
Right.
that will be, corrected in the letter. And it's a trust, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And this will be a decision, so it's not an affidavit. The affidavits are for mergers.
oh, that's right.
Yes.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Well, to see you. Thank you.
That means I have to write.
That's right.
Okay, thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great to see you. Yeah.
All right. Next,
See you number two. Come on up here.
come on up. We are going to do Thomas Merrill, DBA Carpenters Cup LLC. You have, I guess you can have a DBA as an LLC. Is seeking minor site plan review approval to operate a coffee shop at 64 Main Street, map 31, lot 23. Subject parcel is owned by Acorn to Sky Investment LLC and is 0.39 acres. It is located in the Community Business Zoning District. Before I open the hearing on this, I notice that you are looking for a waiver on some submission requirements. And I'll just read them off and the board can, pick and choose. So you're asking to waive 12 copies of the project plan because no exterior changes to the pre-existing site conditions. Completed site plan by a licensed professional. Septic approval or town water sewer hookup, driveway access, boundary survey map of the property, deed of the property because you're renting, and an estimate of the peak period traffic generated, which, if I'm not mistaken, I did see an estimate of that traffic in one of your descriptive paragraphs.
There was an estimate of customers visiting, whether it's going to be vehicular traffic or pedestrian traffic would be hard to determine.
Okay. Board members have any questions or comments on the request for submission waivers?
Would they be required to for town water and sewer? Or is it already?
It's already there.
The building's already on.
Okay.
It's already there. And they never get approval to put a septic in the back.
Right.
At this point.
Who is it? Corn, this guy?
I don't know.
Who's the actual person behind it, you know?
I haven't met the actual person. I've just been dealing with RP.
I make a motion, we approve the waivers.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor of approving the waivers as listed, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Okay, we have granted your waivers. The public hearing is now open. And I will ask you to please describe what you're doing or what you want to do.
All right. Well, fairly self-evident. It's Carpenter's Cup Coffee and looking to open a little coffee shop there, 64 Main. The historic sign out front speaks of it being back after a fire in 1901 was Fogg's Hardware. It also used to be Enfield Hardware, Sanford, I think, and Sons. I am also a carpenter, so hence kind of a trilogy of meaning there, giving an homage to the original building's use. My profession, as well as being a pastor. Jesus was a carpenter, but anyway, so Carpenter's Cup Coffee, having a coffee shop there from, regular kind of coffee shop hours, 6 to 3 o'clock, potentially some other evening, like coffee events, trying to do some more community type outreach and helping, just giving kind of a place for the community to be, to hang out, seeking to support and to build, some pleasing the coffee palate, as I wrote in the statement, and bringing some other craftsmen and things together in a nice coffee shop downtown.
Mhm.
So.
That sounds like a well-needed business here in our downtown area. So I would say we appreciate your wanting to jump into this. No changes to pre-existing site conditions relating to traffic, parking, loading and safety, water drainage, lighting dimensions, water supply, sewage, snow removal, floodplain, solid waste and recycling. When we do a site plan review, we like to look at the various aspects that are existing. And if they are not in compliance with current issues, we like to have them brought up to spec, as it were. So what jumps out at me, and board members may have additional concerns, we do not at this point have any information on your exterior lighting, your snow removal, and your solid waste and recycling plans. Can you fill us in on the existing conditions?
Yeah, there's very little exterior lighting on the building, as in its existence. There is the street lights, which are the town right there on the sidewalk, right beside it. There's the lighting, in George's parking lot, which is not part of the parcel. The property line is like a foot outside of the building. The snow removal is done by the town, the sidewalks, as well as the property manager taking care of, because above is about 3 residential apartments. So the property management already takes care of the snow removal. They have dumpsters in the back that take care of all that for the clients and for the leasers. So.
Okay, so you'll be using the existing dumpsters?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. Are they in any way, shape, or form enclosed behind a fence or anything like that?
I don't believe they are. It's hard to tell whose dumpsters are whose back there too. There are some that are enclosed, and then there are some that are
Yeah.
not. Then there's some that are behind George's, and there's some that are not, so I'm not entirely sure.
Are they located next to the building or?
So if we look at the map there, the building. Can you get the building up there?
Yeah.
So Carpenter's Cup Coffee would go in the front portion there.
Right,
In the back parcel, right kind of where the number 23 is the parking for the apartments, would also be staff parking. And the dumpsters are located right along there, kind of adjacent and more off to the left, not to the right. They're more to the left, almost behind George's.
okay. Yeah. Looks like they probably meet the 50-foot setback from the river. Yeah,
Yeah, there's
Probably.
freeze and stuff
they
like that
do.
in there.
They do.
yeah, I mean, if they're on that paved area, I'm pretty sure that they
They
would
are.
meet. So you say snow removal and it is covered by your landlord. Um,
This is a town road right here, coming around,
Right.
it's called
Yeah.
Blacksmith Alley. So we do some maintenance out there.
Rob, does Blacksmith Alley terminate at that property line? I know on the previous map, it's shown going into the lot.
Yeah, I think this is town right here,
Right.
Yeah, that's down.
but I
But
don't think this is.
my question is, on the previous map that you showed, it looked like Blacksmith Alley extended into lot 23. Can
Well, you
go-
can certainly drive around, but I
Yeah.
think this is private.
Yeah.
Here.
I don't think
This
it's
is
officially.
It's not illegal.
It's not official, okay,
No,
that's what I was
don't
looking,
think so. But it gets plowed.
Yeah.
that's what I was looking to determine.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And the town plows that, or the landlord?
Town puts a truck through there.
I think the town drives straight through rather
Right.
than doing turnarounds,
Uh-huh.
is my understanding, but we'd have to talk to Jim.
Yeah.
But I think they just do it for convenience of the
Right.
town, not
I would think so,
Not
yeah,
for the
Taking it
convenience
over.
yeah,
Right.
it makes a lot of sense. Lighting, you say you're not really sure of what's there. Our current requirement is that exterior lighting is dark sky compliant, which means,
Wouldn't the question be, are you gonna alter the existing exterior lights at all?
Right.
I don't plan on it.
Yeah. And it's not his building.
Right. I mean, that's the problem. He's renting.
He's a renter.
inside.
He's a renter.
Yeah,
It's strictly a change of use.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. He's not changing the
Right.
structure.
No,
okay,
he's actually changing it from retail to retail. Because it's the same thing. The only difference is he's going to have to get something from the health department, which has nothing to do with the planning board.
No, I mean, the foot traffic, I mean, the traffic pattern changes from,
I took pictures, but
from a restaurant, from
Yeah,
whatever was
A
there
retail
prior.
to a coffee shop.
Yeah, a restaurant slash coffee shop.
Right.
I guess my concern with his, opening at 6 a.m. in the winter, and also his possibly having evening type events, is that there be adequate lighting on the street side, so people who are walking into the business,
Well, if new lights are added, then they have to meet current zoning.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, the present lights are grandfathered.
so there is, I'm looking at a picture that I had taken just to jog my memory. There's a light in the entryway that is outside of the building. That's a hanging chandelier type light.
Uh-huh.
Which would be,
Right.
That's the back.
The
yeah,
back.
There's a big one.
Go back to the front view.
There you go.
oh,
This is when it was.
San
yes,
Francisco.
yeah.
Right.
There's streetlights on the sidewalk just to the right.
Yeah.
Just outside the picture frame.
Yeah.
You had a more modern
Yeah,
picture.
there's actually one right in front of the building.
Read that.
That's right there.
Go back,
Go back.
go to the one more to the left, or, yeah, sorry, that one right there. You can see the street
Yeah.
light right there.
Right.
Right.
yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah, there it is.
That certainly would provide adequate.
Yeah.
Light.
Doesn't appear to be any on the exterior on this side.
Nope.
But
George's.
George
George
is
is there's
pretty
light that
well
goes
lit.
in their parking lot.
Mhm.
Okay, don't think there's anything else on my list of things to look at. Board members?
I was wondering, you're open a number of hours, are you going to have pastries or breakfasts or sandwiches or?
There will be some type of bakery, maybe some type of like, paninis, things like that. But at this point, still kind of working out the full range of the menu and all that stuff. Definitely would like to serve something along that lines.
You're gonna have other tradespeople? What, I'm curious, it sounds like there are arts and things you're gonna,
Well, I like, some of this stuff is yet to be determined as far as, what is the permissible side of things. But right across the street, the gentleman Holmquist has made bowls, things like that. I would like to have, various things along that line, possibly made by him, as the things that I serve on, instead of just serving on generic cafeteria plates, more of a carpenter, like wood type theme stuff. Yeah, wood vibe, yeah.
you also in your, presentation mentioned promoting family values.
Mhm.
How will you do that?
Well, there's a number of various ways, that one could do that. And some of those being hiring, homeschoolers to work during, hours that the children may be at school themselves. My family, we homeschool as well. So we're not going to be a coffee shop that's, going against the family, just trying to work with the family. So various ways. Things yet to be determined exactly.
Any other questions?
I make a motion, we approve the site plan as proposed.
Somebody want a second? Okay, motion made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations. What's your projected opening date?
Spring, hopefully.
Great.
Right.
So this is a remarkable.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, thank
Gotta
you
get the
for
lease
coming in.
taken care of and.
You will write the decision in the next week or so and
Okay.
get it signed and get your copy for your records. Basically, this goes in your property file here, and also at the town office, and you get a copy, so you can put it in your files for the whole thing. And also, I look forward to coming down for a cup of coffee.
For sure.
The one thing we will need for the file is a letter from the building owner that
Okay.
authorizes you to come before us
Oh,
and
yeah.
act as an agent.
Okay. So,
Is there a form for that, Rob, that you can give him, or?
No, we usually just get a letter, a
Letter.
paragraph.
okay,
Right, so your, town of Enfield. Thomas Morrow has our mission as property owners to operate a coffee shop at this location. It's just a due diligence kind of thing for us.
Should there be like a signature block on the application for the owner?
We should probably change the app at some point, because
That
that
would
is
take care of it.
something really family.
so it's the permission to operate the coffee shop,
Actually, what we're
Or
looking for.
permission
is
to
Permission.
do business on their behalf in front of you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can coach you on the exact wording.
I have some samples.
I think Tim's idea of incorporating, permission on the application
Yeah.
form itself
Mhm.
would be a good idea in the way it's streamlining things.
Thank you so much.
Dan,
Oh, thank you.
I'll work on that letter.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thanks for coming in.
Good
Thanks.
luck. Thank you so much.
Give you all coffee soon.
Yeah.
I hope so.
and I went to one coffee shop this summer and they didn't have any kind of tea.
Yeah, what's your favorite tea?
Lady Grey,
Wait, great.
yeah, you have a lady,
I've not had the lady.
just
I like that.
girl.
I like hibiscus and pomegranate seeds. Things like that. Lady Grey.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
there are no conceptuals. Eric, select board report. I think a lot's been going on since we've.
Yes, we
Last word
had a busy meeting Monday night. Did our deliberation of the septic rules and forwarded an adjusted draft to legal for a final review before taking a vote on it. But of most interest to this group is probably that we voted to enter a letter of intent to sell Shed Street property to Bobby Oaks' company. And they're bringing forward a plan for 48 housing units, 44 2-bedroom, 4 1-bedroom units,
Mhm.
2 buildings, architecturally designed to sort of look like old New England mill buildings. And so they've got a long way to go, but that's a very exciting development, I think.
That sounds very exciting. It's exactly what we had hoped for on those 2 lots.
Mhm.
Anything else?
No, those are the 2 big ones.
Okay, questions for Eric? Rob, what's your report?
So, yes, the big news, you guys probably all saw it on the listserv. The brewery is kind of hanging in the balance at this point. We're been informed by the property owner that he's gonna sell it. And he's informed the brewing company, Optimistic. We've communicated with the people at Optimistic, trying to figure out what we can do. There's listing now, Casey Canlin from Vanessa Stone is going to be repping that building. Be offered for sale. I think it's already, a few people have already expressed interest in buying it. Talked to a couple today. there may be some people in town that wanna pool together and buy it up and keep the brewery project working. We'll see. It could also get bought up by somebody that doesn't wanna do that. I mean, if you're paying money for a building, you're free to do it whatever you want. So a little bit of a disappointment for us there that the brewery project is sort of now in question, but they did have all their approvals from planning and zoning. And I had offered a letter as such stating that. And the property owner was frustrated with the process. And so I don't think that's a secret. So again, we're all kind of upset, but we'll see what we can do. And we're definitely trying to work with the brewing company as much as we can to try to help them keep this project on point. We'll see. Like I said, a lot of calls this morning. The posting went up yesterday on listserv. I think it was yesterday afternoon. So there was a lot of people calling with interest and concern and so forth. And so town manager and I are working hard on that. Obviously, that's for us a high priority. Everybody was really hoping for the brewery and hoping that would go. And so kind of sad that it's not, but hopefully we can get it back on track. We'll see. I did find out today that the little sliver of land between the rail trail and Mascoma River in the vicinity of Shed Street has now been purchased. And we'll see what happens with that parcel. That one is, is a very small, narrow lot. In fact, in our GIS, it says.
Can you show it to us?
Yeah.
That's the no parking, like everyone needs to park there and I can't.
Yes, I'll show you. This lot right here.
Oh, that little parcel.
So here's Shed Street right here. Yeah, this is our two parcels on the Baltic Mill side. This is the former site of what's called the Lower Baltic Mill. I actually have a postcard in my office that shows what it looked like. It burned 100 years or so ago.
You mean where the pointed part is?
Right in there.
Oh,
There's foundation.
Foundation, granite blocks.
I see the straight line.
Yeah, right here.
How much land?
It's a tiny little parcel. Let's show you. 0.8 acres, according to our GIS.
Who bought it?
I'm not sure I can say yet, but
Oh, okay.
it's somebody you'll know.
Yeah.
It does say on our tax card that it's undevelopable, but the gentleman that bought it disagrees with that. And you can see that it has an assessment there of 70,000, so that doesn't really reflect, I think, undevelopable. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, it's a 50-foot setback, 50-foot setback to the water.
Yeah.
30 and 20 here. It's in the CB. Yep. So be very interesting to see what could possibly happen there. There was some really awesome parking here for rail trail access, right about there.
Yeah.
They have put up the signs. Yeah, I think the current owner, or what will be the previous owner, did not like people parking there. But it's the gentleman that owns the mill across the river here, the old Baltic Mill right here, Tim Taylor. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll be keeping you guys up to date on that. Still fair amount of calls coming in. I did have a meeting today with the gentleman that were here 2 weeks ago talking to you about the storage facility. They are still contemplating whether they wanted to do an application to the zoning board with current zoning, or whether they wanted to wait and see what happened with the proposal to change the zoning in that district. Kind of a question arises there is, if you're asking for a variance, I mean, the zoning doesn't really matter. So would that, if they got denied a variance on existing zoning and then the zoning changes, would they be able to reapply? That's a question. That's a interesting conundrum. I've got to sort of figure out, maybe talk to legal, NHMA or our council. But I had a great meeting with them today, and they're looking at all their options. We'll see what they come up with. And obviously it would include a revised site plan with you guys at some point. We are real close on Main Street. I was helping Ed this week with some of the issues of Whitney Hall. Looks like we probably will be able to move in there later this year. But it's more likely that we're going in there after the first of the year, just because of, you know, the holidays and so forth coming up, and it's fairly extensive checklist to get in there. You know, a lot of things that got to fall into place. So we were working on the three-phase power that we actually got permission from a couple of landowners across the street to cross their land coming down across. It's actually MTD and Alice Kennedy.
Mhm.
They were both very generous and allowed us to cross with easement access to put underground utility. As you may or may not know, the Whitney Hall building did not have three-phase power. And because of the renovations there and a renovation or upgrade of the elevator really needs to have three-phase power. So we think we're pretty close on all the paperwork there. Liberty Utilities will not pull the power cables through the conduit that's already there until every T is crossed and every I is dotted. So we're real close there. You know, there's some, we had to get financing entities to sign off with the easements, and even New Hampshire Housing Authority is involved because they're one of the financiers. So been a little bit of a technical challenge, and it's taken up a lot of Ed's time. But I have had a tour there within the last month or so, and it's amazing. The building's going to be beautiful, and they are putting finishing touches. As you drive by, you'll see it's really starting to take shape. The, you know, topsoil is getting sprinkled around the outside, and paint has been applied to things. And I know the library is planning to close for a month while they do their transition. You know, a lot of shelving and a lot of books to stack and file and so forth. And of course, Elisa and the town office staff are all gearing up for the big move, because now we've got to put everything back in the boxes and bring it back down to Whitney Hall. Public safety, I've also been in there. That's coming along real nice out at Granite Place. It's right in here. There you'll see as you drive by now, I think they're literally putting the roof on, and the goal there is to have it weather tight for winter, so they can do all interior fit up through the cold months. They'll blow some temporary heat in there. And we did have a little issue with along the side here. They dug a pretty deep drainage ditch right along the side of Granite Place. And there were some concerns about it being a little bit of a car catching type ditch. And I think we've worked that out. They've lined it now with some stone. It's a little less steep and a little less deep. But that's going to be a tremendous facility as well. And so that's happening. I'm trying to think what else I can give you for updates. The Superior Court date is coming up. Probably have at least something to report for you in another month or so. That's in November. November 13th. That's right. It's a Wednesday, I believe. That's I think it's your next meeting, isn't it?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
No, we're doing the sixth because.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. We changed.
We changed.
Thanksgiving.
Second and fourth
Yeah.
for those 2 months.
Yeah. We did get blessings. I'm the chair of the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission's Brownfields Advisory. And we had a meeting last week and got their blessing to add Depot Street building that we own to their list of possible brownfields assessment properties. It's going to be a little bit of a technicality there because, as you guys may or may not know, the state actually owns the land underneath the building. We do not own the land. And so to do brownfields assessments, you have to have the landowner's consent. And so Ed's been working our ankles there. Fortunately, that's a little bit of a stretch or a little bit of a reach. We do want to eventually buy the land or own the land underneath that building, because the building is not worth much without the land underneath it. I've been involved in those cases in the past where eventually the railroad or the state will let us buy it for a fair market value. But that's it's still hanging out there. Susan Brown, you guys may know, across the street from our depot building.
That took her a long time.
She worked relentlessly to get her piece.
2 or 3 years, yeah.
And, you know, she called him and pestered him relentlessly until they sold her a piece of land that was teeny tiny, probably the size of that wall right there, you know. But it was right in her front yard, and it was kind of silly that it wasn't with her property. So she sort of set the precedent that we're gonna hopefully follow. We'll see. Yeah, so Brownfields is very busy all over the Upper Valley. You guys, may or may not know, that's a program of the US EPA. The RPC gets grant money, usually somewhere in the vicinity of $1 million or $2 million from EPA, where the committee needs to vote on properties. We throw out all kinds of properties that we can look at. It's a great deal for property owners because it's free. You know, they'll come in and do there's two different levels of assessment. First one is deed research to find out what was possible use of the property before, you know, through history. And then the second level, which we did at Shed Street, they'll come in and actually do, you know, testing. They'll actually put in monitoring wells if necessitated. They'll do ground penetrating sonar to try to figure out if there's any structures underneath the ground. At Shed Street, we did have to remove essentially a collection tank that was connected to the floor drains at those buildings. And that turned out to be good news for us because the tank was a containment. It did not have a leach field. Some places do that, and that's even more of a problem because what's dripping off the trucks in the shop bays ends up in that tank, and you don't want it to end out into the ground. So the Depot Street, you know, that was, I think at one point it was an oil company, right? It was something in there. So it definitely needs to be assessed, but we'll see if we can get, it's the Bureau of Rails through DOT that's in charge, and we've got to get them to sign off on it, but we've got the money, the federal grant, if RPC is there, we can spend it and get free analysis done by a professional contracting firm out of Maine that does that site work for us. They're doing unbelievable amounts of work in Lebanon and Claremont because those are even bigger industrial sites that pretty much anywhere you sink a shovel in Claremont, you're on a brownfield site. And they've been working hard down there to try to convert some of those old mills into productive future use, and they've had some success, as you guys probably are well aware. Lebanon, same deal. They just did a project with their former DPW site, and the cleanup there was even more substantial than what we had to deal with. They did almost $1 million worth of mediation to actually excavate soil and take it to a contained landfill, et cetera. So that's brownfields. And that's about it for right now. I'll take any questions you guys have. Happy to help. I know you, Kurt, you came in to see me talking about class 6 roads
Yeah,
for the conservation.
yeah, the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, that's about it. I don't want to go on too long. You guys got lots of work to do.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Next are minutes from October 9th. They're on the table. Anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections?
I did not.
I had one. On line 129 and 130. It says, so far the drafts reviewed are nearly identical to the original master plan task force chapters. Maybe add something like identical in style and format. Can you wordsmith that, Whitney?
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything?
I do.
Go ahead, Linda.
Not an error. I just.
Do we have a line number?
Yes, 56 on the 57. Where it says another development iteration at this location came only for a conceptual but never a hearing. And well, I know who you mean, but if someone reads that a year from now, they're not going to know who you're referring to. The first developer who did not build.
Right.
was, the Iron Man group.
Yeah,
And then another development iteration at this site came only for a conceptual, but never a hearing. And maybe that's what you meant to say. I just,
I think we can perhaps say that a little better to address your concern. And maybe we might say another developer for this location came only for a conceptual, but never a hearing.
yeah.
Did that cover it? Okay. Anyone else have anything on the minutes? Not
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Dan.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstentions.
David, I did just remember one other thing. Eric and I met with the TIF committee last
yeah.
week. And it was sort of a routine. We're hoping to meet with them once a month, once a quarter.
Mhm.
So we had them here last week and we did talk about the TIF plan and current projects. We are spending some TIF money on a few projects within that plan. Number one, we're gonna do a review of the Lovejoy Brook flood zone area.
Mhm.
With some engineering. There's, serious encumbrances on properties down there due to the FEMA flood map. And so one of the things that experience has told us that the FEMA flood maps are not ground level accuracy. So sometimes you actually have to do that type of work to find out where the flood zone really is. And so we're gonna have that done, because there's parcels down there that have been sort of sitting, because people, every time they look at it, like, oh, can't do anything because of the flood stuff. So maybe a little investment in that study would actually free up some of that land and get it put into productive use again. We are gonna do some work, TIF money will do some work at Hughes Park on the parking lot there, and also at Whitney Hall on the parking lot there. It's all public parking and very important in our downtown. As you guys all know, parking kind of top of mind for anybody in the downtown area, so. And the executive team and the select board and town manager are working on really looking at parking aggressively to try to figure out, what do we need for signage, and some of that could be TIF investments as well, so we'll keep you posted on that. Just wanted to let you know.
One other thing that, as long as we're going back to your report, you want to fill us in a little bit on the, Main Street charrette project
Yes.
that, the regional planning people are, I think, sponsoring?
Yes, so RPC gets grant money comes through the state, but it's federal highway money. And they approached us about a year ago and said, hey, as part of our transportation work that we're doing, meaning the RPC, they did a corridor study for the Upper Valley. They looked at like about 10 different corridors, which Enfield has two, the Route 4 corridor and the Route 4A corridor. They had some money available to do an analysis of Main Street because it's a linkage between the two corridors. And so we signed up with them. They're doing some work. They've already done a lot of analysis with their data. They put out they're the ones that put those little tubes across that can count traffic, and they have some more sophisticated data gathering methods as well. So they're doing a lot of that stuff for us on Main Street. Right now, there's a survey open. I think you may have seen, I put some information on listserv and on our website and social media and so forth to get people to go and hit that. There's a survey that the RPC has created for gathering some input from the community on Main Street. And then there is an event, I believe it's on the 14th I'll send you guys details, of November at the community building, where the RPC will be there. And we're hoping to get some members of the public to come, and it'll be a little charrette of sorts to kind of talk about issues with Main Street. We do actually we've added the roundabout or traffic circle at Main and Maple on Route 4. as a candidate for our 10-year plan. I'm meeting next week with TAC, which is the RPC's Transportation Advisory Committee, which is the method by which projects get added to the governor's 10-year plan, transportation plan. We do have some stuff that's already on the 10-year plan, including some work on Route 4, starting at the Lebanon Enfield Town Line, coming all the way into what they call Huntoon Brook, which is the one they're actually working on right now. Today, they were out on Huntoon Bridge. That one is likely to get replaced as part of about a $10 million governor's 10-year plan project. That's already there, and that's already sort of in the pipeline. We have requested to add the traffic circle, which they've showed us conceptual. DOT engineers have shared that with us, and that would be a very technical project, but I think it would be a huge improvement at that spot. And you know, the problem with that intersection, and you guys, people that live there, you know, it's angles. And the DOT engineers have explained it to us, you know, you experience it. If you want to go to the post office from here, you get to the end of Main Street, trying to go across by Jake's to Maple Street. And it's funny because just the psychological angle, you're coming at an angle, they're coming this way. If you got there before somebody, you're wanting to go across straight, you got the right of way, right? But people will always cut you off. There's something about those angles. So this project they've shown us actually would include changing some of the approaches from Main Street specifically. And it would impact our Hughes Park, basketball court that's there now is likely a sacrificial spot, which means we would have to create a new basketball court, because that was actually done with some grant money from the feds for recreational stuff. And so it has permanent easement protection, and doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's very technical. You have to do certain things, but that could be 15 million just for that one little thing. We'll see. Next week, the committee gets together to score all the projects, and there's 25 to 30 projects that different towns around the Upper Valley have added to the list. And there's, you know, a scoring system whereby, you know, safety is one big thing, and number of people impacted is another big thing, part of the scoring system. And Lebanon always has 10 projects they want to add to the governor's 10-year plan. Right now we've got one that we'd like to add, but we'll see what happens. So.
Where is Huntoon Bridge?
It's right by
Methodist Church.
Yep, right
Methodist
by
thrift store.
20 Hands, Casanos. There's a little brook that comes down from May Street, essentially from where our reservoir is, way up on Moose Mountain Road. That crosses right there to get into the Mascoma River.
Rob,
Yeah.
since I'm on the Enfield Village working group, and if there's no objection to the board, could I get invited to anything that's, you know, non-public stuff that's dealing with that charrette?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you have like
Planning
staff meetings about that.
Yeah. Happy to.
Be a lot I could probably learn from.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay,
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry.
all right, no, thank you
I'm glad
for
we reminded each other.
filling us in on that.
Yes.
Okay, so we've done the minutes, old business, proposed ordinance changes. All I had was the rural multifamily provisions, and when I walked in here tonight, I found that we have language from, I guess, Phil on the ADUs, and we had something from Tim, a very minor amendment, but I think important, on, what were you doing? Tim? Parking, that's right. So let's do the multifamily provisions. Do we have anything on that, Rob? Proposed?
Multifamily, was that you?
Yeah, I've got 14 of them here because I brought them 3 times already.
Okay.
Nothing changed.
Well, then, I mean, we,
Have we decided that these are
I
what we
don't
want
know.
to do?
That's why I'm
All right,
saying,
let's do them again, and then we can cross them off the list.
So it's not this accessory dwelling units?
no, it's here.
Here, I'll,
this and this, it's that. We just need to decide whether or not, here you go with it.
I got it.
Whether or not we want to put it on the ballot.
You can go first. You can take one, absolutely.
people have concerns about what is being proposed on this?
And you have that as a Word doc? Yeah, text, whatever, I'll put it in Word doc, I wanna send it to me. I can send, I'll send it to you. Yeah, I've started a file that's gonna be basically all of our zoning.
Yeah,
So the bold is the new.
Old is the new.
It's just adding those sentences, otherwise.
Adding those.
adding two families
That's all you-
and three families.
Family and then 4 family by special exception.
And so this doesn't have to do with ADUs.
Nope. No, because, I mean, you could do a 3 ADU right now. But that then has a square footage on it. If you're doing it as an ADU, it would be a maximum of whatever we decide in the
So
thing.
if someone does a 1, 2, or 3 family dwelling, can each of those do 2
No,
ADUs?
No,
only on single family residences can you do an ADU. This is basically a 4-piece, say, townhouses, 4 townhouses connected together
In the R5.
in the R5 district
with a special exception.
with a special exception. You can do it, you'd be able to do a 3 without special exception by right,
Current regs.
current regs.
Current regs, yeah. So the,
No, not on current regs.
Oh, no.
Current regs is 1 family only in the R5 regs.
I'm not voting tonight, but my opinion is that I don't see why we wouldn't want more housing options available.
I think if you put this on the warrant, the discussion that will ensue from either at a forum or a public hearing, listserv, what have you, I think would inform us quite a bit on
Yeah.
What folks might or might not want to see.
Right.
I
Mhm.
mean, if it doesn't pass, we're not
No,
gonna hurt anything.
I'm not gonna die on that hill. Because 3 1,200 square foot ADUs can be done to make it even larger than 1,200 square feet.
So I think, well, obviously the Rob and Ed and the town attorney will massage the wording and make it fit.
Yeah.
Format, but I don't have any problem with this.
We're still proposing to keep section K, which is minimum lot size shall be 5 acres except for dwellings, in which case minimum lot size shall be 5 acres per dwelling unit, i.e. 1 dwelling unit equals 5 acres, 2 dwelling units equals 10.
Yep.
So the only way you could put 2 dwelling units
It's gonna be,
is if you have 10 acres or more.
right, right.
I just want to be clear that that's
Yes.
what we're saying.
Yeah. And from a conservation standpoint, that's probably more of a conservation because you could put both units on the 5 acres. 5 acre piece could then be conserved,
Yeah,
could be built on.
yeah.
I mean, this gives property owners more options.
It gives them
Exactly.
more
Well, and
flexibility.
It makes it, exactly, not just flexible, but
So they have more options. They don't have to subdivide from
They don't have to.
5.
they
in
don't
order
have to, they don't have to have two driveways, they don't have to do all of that. They
Mhm.
could actually have, you could do you could do one driveway with a spur.
So we might wanna walk through that just a little bit, cause that, we still have that clause in here, item O, no lot shall have more than one dwelling or principal building.
Yep.
So 25-acre lot.
Yep.
R5 zone.
Yep.
Would it, in theory, I could subdivide that into 5-acre lots.
Yep.
They'll still have that option.
You still have that
We'll do
option.
that, so we'll just say I'm
Yep,
gonna divide that into
Yep.
5-acre lots, and
Yep.
one of those buyers wants to put up a 3-family dwelling.
They need to have 15 acres.
No,
Well, no,
I'm sorry, 3 dwelling.
to do this, not ADUs, they would have to
Right.
have 15 of those 25.
Today,
acres.
they would.
Right, well, even with this.
No, because you could do this on 5-acre.
No, that's what
No.
David was asking, because the language around one unit per 5 acres is still.
Does
It's
say
still
one,
there.
does say one dwelling.
It says dwelling unit.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So we,
So with that, you'd
Yeah.
still need,
yeah,
but it gives them more options.
yeah,
So the best I could do would be for a 5-acre lot is a single-family home.
With 2
with
ADUs.
2 ADUs.
right.
Okay,
well, do we want to consider dropping section K? Which is the one that's, one dwelling unit per 5 acres.
I think without really noodling that. I mean, we don't wanna, in 2025, we don't wanna put up a zoning ordinance change. It's gonna be something that we didn't really think would happen.
I guess my concern is that we've got 3 different sections here. One of them which says single family, 2-family, 3-family on individual lots is allowed. We've got another section that says minimum lot size 5 acres per dwelling unit. And then we've got another section that says no lot shall have more than one dwelling or principal building.
Right.
Well, look, those 3 clauses are in harmony, though. They're not contradicting one another.
Well, no, if anything, this.
I
one
see
would be
they are.
contradictory.
They are contradicting.
What's the contradiction?
What was the
Well,
last one? The last one, where was that? What section?
section O, no lot shall have more than one dwelling or principal building. That,
Throw a scenario out there, and what is the contradiction that you're seeing?
the contradiction is section O says a single building per lot.
Right,
And section A says
you could have 3.
one, 2 or 3 family dwellings. Okay, I get that. That's not a contradiction.
Proposed, section A.
Where you could have 4 if you have such special.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are still single buildings though, right?
Those are, yeah,
That's the problem is,
Well, that- It becomes limited. I mean, that right
it's
there.
very limited, because you just said in order to have a 3-plex, you've got to have 15 acres
And one building.
in one building.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's another.
But it's not contradictory.
No, it's not contradictory. It's just not, it's not gonna get you any more housing.
Not in the next year before we propose a full
Right.
change, potentially propose a rewrite of that
Anyway,
section that is hopefully,
because it's the unit
Addresses
piece that's
the-
the problem.
right,
It's not the building one.
right.
You could have a 3-plex with one principal building,
yeah,
but you can't have it because you can only have one unit
right.
on a 5-acre lot. You can only have one unit on a 5-acre
One
lot.
of my 25
No, you
acres.
can only have one unit on any lot.
Right,
But in my 25-acre scenario,
in the ER5.
Right, so
Right.
if you got a 25-acre lot,
Right,
you could have one dwelling unit per 5 acres, so you could
Right.
have 5
You
dwelling
have a
units.
threeplex and a duplex
But you'd
on
have
one 5 acre lot.
No,
But
they'd have to
no,
be two
because you
separate
can-
lots.
You can only have, you
one
can only
principal lot,
have
two separate
one,
lots.
one dwelling,
Right.
one, what is
You'd
it?
have to
Principal
subdivide to
building.
get all those.
One principal building.
Right,
And
so you could have a twoplex on 10 acres and a threeplex on the 15 acres.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we should just leave it at that and see what comments and suggestions.
Right.
ensue.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a minor, really,
It is,
in effect,
right,
once you go through the subdivision and all that. it's
Yeah.
Probably not going to create a lot of housing, but
no,
the concept is out there.
Yeah.
That, maybe in the rural district, we can tolerate some multifamily housing, or maybe not. This might not pass.
right.
okay,
Is there any? Currently on the ground, is there any duplexes or greater in the R5?
I don't know.
What's Shaker? Big apartment building down 4A,
Enchanted Barn? Not
Lakeview,
Lakeview.
Shaker Farms,
Enchanted Barn.
Enchanted Barn. What's
But
that?
that's not in, that's not in
in
our
R5,
five,
that's
is that
R1.
not, that's not our five, is it?
That's our one.
It's one, it's our
Oh,
one,
is that all? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where I think you're gonna run into the pushback. Because people vision R5 as being low density. Single
is-
family homes.
I guess my question is a threeplex high density
Not if
on
it's in-
5 acres of land?
Not if it's in a single
15
building,
acre.
Right,
If it's in one building.
well, no, I'm saying even if it was in one building,
on 15 acres.
on 15 acres,
you hardly get a notice that there are
right,
3 different dwelling units there, except,
right,
the number
You
of
don't
cars in the
No,
driveway.
you see the building, you don't see the land, you look at a building. The land is just, could be anybody's land, you don't know who the land belongs to when you go down the road.
right,
So it'd just be a visual thing of how big that building would be and would it look out of place.
There's no square footage limits currently.
right.
Pretty big houses out.
Yeah,
Is it bigger than a house with an attached barn? Probably not.
I'm just,
And it could be it could be designed to be very ugly.
well,
Yeah.
It could be designed.
right, but we have no control of
Right,
that either.
We don't.
So,
No,
but I'm
right.
just public perception is what I'm getting at.
If you
Um,
plucked one of the buildings on Anderson Hill on 5 acres out on Lock Haven, would it be overwhelming?
Dan,
no,
not 5 acres. It's gotta be like 15.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Well, okay, on 15 acres, but it's the building itself that he's having, that's the issues with.
Yeah.
If it's 15 acres, you don't care about the other 12 acres, you care about the building.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, would that be overwhelming to people if one of those properties on Anderson Hill was out on Lock Haven Road?
if you had a sufficient setback, I
Right.
think it would be fine.
I think you'll get some pushback. I think it'll be interesting.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I said I wasn't gonna die on that hill, because I'd like to see what people's perception is, and I'd like to see whether or not they do wanna see more than just single families on 75% of the town.
Um,
Because at some point, we're gonna have to meet the workforce housing in the largest district.
Question for you, Dan.
Yeah.
Under the 4-family portion. You specifically point out the 4-family dwelling shall have minimum setbacks as prescribed in 405F1.
That's 250 feet buffer around.
405F1.
I think 405 F1,
Let's look at that.
because that's the cluster development one.
It's on page 39.
She can't put it
31.
right on.
cluster 100-foot setback.
Maybe it's,
Or it's
100,
What page?
100 feet,
39.
but it's 401, yeah,
At the bottom.
405 F1, section 405 F1.
$100
Yeah, which basically says you can't put it on the road.
Thank you. I have a better chance of it, this passing without that section on the four family. I just think people are gonna just see that and just be too much for R5. Politically, I just think people are just like, no, you can't do that.
Well, yeah, but if you get rid of it, it means they could put it right on the road.
I think he's talking about the whole four family.
It's just the four.
Oh, the whole four family
The
idea.
last line.
Yeah.
I just think.
Like I said,
When four family just,
I'm not gonna die on that hill,
you
but
know, people say, well, okay, it's all one unit. You know,
Right.
it's not three separate buildings. It's one building, which has to be.
then
Sort
I
of,
don't have a,
sort of explained somehow that it's,
I don't have a problem getting rid of that for this year. And just
Yeah.
leave it at the one family, two family, three family dwellings.
yeah, well, I mean, I think we need
Yeah.
to define better, at least in the sub note, like dwellings means one structure. It's not individual structures.
Right.
Because,
You have definition.
You do, because you can only have one building.
yeah, but that needs to be sort of in the explanation.
Yeah, the
Oh, in the explanation, not in
that
the,
This is what this.
not in the,
Yeah,
This is
okay,
what this
yeah.
means.
the explanation is the two critical pieces, which is 5 acres per unit and
And a
Single
one
building.
single building.
Structure, yeah,
Right.
building structure,
right.
stuff like that.
Okay, yep, that'll be in the narrative.
Yeah,
But that, he's right,
Yeah.
those are critical pieces of understanding.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, because you get unit, structure, dwelling, and they all mean.
Oh, I
something
know.
di- They all mean something
they
different.
mean something different, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with just having the A and not having the last line that says about four family dwellings. Save that for the big rewrite if we decide.
Mhm.
Or if we get pushed back on this,
Right, yeah,
then we're gonna know that we're sure as hell gonna get pushed back on a four family dwelling.
yeah. Yeah, that's not gonna,
And it does give people, we talked about it at some of the meetings earlier about multi-generational
Yeah,
housing, you know, wealthy
because the only
grandfather
thing
can
this,
build a house for his whole
the only
family.
thing this really does is gives you the ability to have more than 1,200 square foot units.
yeah. That's proposed too, so that might
Well, yeah,
not pass either.
Well, you still gotta have ADUs,
Right, you have to have ADUs, but
right?
there's nothing that says it has to be 1,200 feet.
Nope,
Yeah, I think the multi-generational interest would be best served by the ADU thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody would well, certainly build a duplex
yeah,
for
if you had, yeah, yeah,
Well, it goes beyond that. I mean,
right,
I know people in town who are planning for when their kids are 25.
right.
And that's, 25 and
Oh, yeah.
60, and they definitely want 2 full housing units.
Right.
Yeah, so what happens when you build a duplex on a 10-acre lot in the R5 zone?
Yep.
You can't then add that third ADU to it.
No,
No,
You could though, if that second apartment was 1,200 or less.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you can have it classified either way. If the units are small.
you would you would have to
you
classify
have
it that
you
way,
can
that's
classify
right,
it either way.
right. But you couldn't have a 1,500 to 1,500 and then
Right.
say, I'm gonna build one under
No.
1,200.
Correct.
All of a sudden, you've just gone
No,
from a
2 of the
single
units have
family,
to meet the size
to a-
requirement.
At least for the
Okay.
next year.
at least for the next year, yeah. And this may be a good stepping off point to see what we end up with a year further down the road.
So we're gonna strike the four families and
Yeah, I'll
think
strike
that's
the
what
poor
we're agreeing.
family.
Send it over.
I'll send it, Oliver stricken.
Just a minor edit. I think it's section 405.1 F1, if that is necessary.
Well, I'm getting rid of it anyway. So there. It's, yeah, you're right, it's 405.1 F,
That is about.
right, but it's gone away anyway.
we knew what you meant, Sam. Okay, let's move on to ADUs. Bill has proposed the new language.
has he?
Well, different than the existing.
Well, I was trying to reconcile this with
Understand.
the minutes,
Yes, yeah.
my recollection of the discussion, and, you know, did he send this?
No, he came over and we worked on it together.
Oh, you did, okay, okay. And I asked Rob to provide the copy of the existing regulations you have there as well.
Right.
So my recollection of the work that we did earlier this week was we eliminated redundancy in the definition. In that first, I think it's section 2. There was a section 3 underneath there that we sort of blended them together. And then we did in, I think it's subparagraph 3 that says the system must be installed prior to occupancy by a licensed professional.
Right.
You guys did not want the current way that it's currently set. And we'll have to run this by legal,
Just a plan, yeah.
because I don't know if we can well, I guess we can.
We can
We're
make
doing it with the lakefront if we do that.
And the building inspector has control of occupancy permits.
That's right.
And
Right, but I'm just saying, can we make septic regulations that are stricter than the state?
Yes.
I don't think this is just saying you won't get effectively, this is saying you won't get your occupancy permit. Like this building inspector's not gonna sign off on it until you have a
Until
septic.
there's an adequate.
Right, but the 674 ADU enabling legislation specifically says you have to have design, but you have to build it.
But this is
Right.
in the building permits, not, I think this is a building,
Okay.
so that'd be my
Yeah, right.
angle I would go at it from, is this a building permit thing? If you're,
Right,
like, you can't build a single family home and say, well, I'm moving in, even though I don't have a septic.
right. Right.
And my interpretation would be that the ADU language is enabling. It enables the town to do something. You can't go looser than it.
Right.
But if the town wants to go stricter, I don't think there's a prohibition.
Yeah, I would just want to see what legal says on that. I do know that the intent of that from the legislature was to make it easier for people to build housing, not harder. And what we're gonna do is make it harder to build housing. Obviously, we are very hypersensitive to septic
Yeah,
and water quality here in this town, and I'm all for that, but what you're gonna find is people that wanna add ADUs are not gonna do it because of the expense of building and installing a septic system. Where the original intent was, if your existing system will continue to support the additional load, you're fine. If it doesn't, you have the approval in the bank to build if you need it. That's what the rationale was.
yeah, but you know, the idea of enforcing or inspecting other than through the Lakeshore septic ordinance. The only way you're gonna find out about a failed septic is if somebody complains.
That's right. Yes,
And
bubbling up from the ground.
check with legal.
So,
Yep.
so looking at 3. It says, on lots served by town sewer, the property shall, not served by sewer, shall obtain DES approval for properly sized. If we strike the word new and just say on-site sewage disposal system, then an existing one
Right.
could be certified.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
one of my notes, it's like, wait a minute.
So you just strike the word new there. And then they could get approval for an existing system. If it can handle the capacity, that's absolutely fine. And it would be installed, so they would not have to
Yep.
do anything. They
Okay.
just have to go through and prove that it is adequate for
Yeah.
what they're putting in.
okay. A grammatical issue here on number 3.
Mhm.
The system must be installed prior to occupancy by a licensed professional. The way that reads is that the licensed professional would be moving in.
Right.
System must be installed by a licensed professional for
Yes.
occupancy.
Or
Yeah.
prior to issuance of an occupancy permit.
Right. So a little wordsmithing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 4. Why am I not understanding this? The accessory dwelling unit and the main dwelling unit are exempt from district acreage density requirements. Why are they exempt?
That's the whole intention of the ADU. Right.
Well,
Again, they're trying to make it easier, not harder.
yeah,
You guys are making it harder.
They count,
The state made it easier.
but if you're allowed 2 ADUs, they're counting.
Well,
1, 2.
You can build on 1 acre in the R1, you can have 3 units.
Right, which is more than
With
the
an
density.
ADU, not with a triplex. You know, you have to have 3 acres for a
well,
triplex.
the problem,
Exempt
think I-
from district acreage density units.
That
because they're
language is directly from the state.
Because they're
Mhm.
already defined. Correct?
Right,
Okay,
So it's the exact conversation we just had on the R5.
right,
You can have a single family home and 2 ADUs on 5 acres. You can
Right.
have 3 full, any size units you want on 15.
right.
So that's the difference.
But take it back to R1, where it's 1 dwelling unit per acre.
Right.
If you add an ADU, that's 2 dwelling units per acre. But you're exempt if it's an ADU.
Right.
You could put
3.
a total of 3.
Right.
Because you can add 2 ADUs.
you know what RSA that is? Because
674, 71 to 73.
I'm questioning. If it's in the RSA's, then fine, then that's what it is.
It's direct from the RSA, yeah.
I was just thinking in terms of someone who has, 10 acres, 20 acres, whatever. Has the main principal unit that's pre-existing, builds 2 ADUs.
Yep.
Close to the main principal building, and then subdivides.
well, if he has enough acreage for.
No, but he subdivides, but he points to this and says, I can make that 1 acre, and then the rest is the other land.
What district are we in?
We could have 3 or 5.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, run that scenario again.
So he's in the R5 district or R3 districts.
Yeah.
He has a principal building pre-existing,
Single
Yep.
family homes.
single family home, builds 2 ADUs.
Yep.
And they're all clustered together.
Only
All
one of them
within-
can be
all less than
clustered.
all on 1 acre.
Only one can be clustered.
well, if it's an R3, he has to subdivide it, so he's
No,
got.
for the ADU, no, for the ADUs. He's building ADUs
Right,
on a 5 acre lot in the
Right.
R3,
okay,
or a 10 acre lot, whatever.
Right,
Acre lot. And it's the 2 ADUs are built close to the building that's already there.
okay,
Now it's on, say, 10 acres.
only one can be detached. They both can.
But
No, that's not, I don't care where, but they're close together.
Yeah.
So one's
Okay.
attached and the other's the garage, a freestanding garage.
okay,
Okay,
He comes in for a subdivision and then all of a sudden he wants to make that principal and 2 ADUs at 1 acre lot.
he can't make it a 1 acre lot
Well-
because it's R3.
R3. He's gotta make a,
And if all he has
R3
is
lot.
5 acres,
But
Right.
they're exempt.
no,
But that's how it's reading though.
no, that's not what it means.
Yeah, I know, but that's how, I think. If it's in the RSA, though, that's like, okay, that's what it is. But if that's not in the RSA's, I think someone can use that and say, but I'm exempt from any density requirements.
Well,
so he's bringing up a good point, because it is, I can see that reading of it. That if you have a single family and 2 ADUs, you're exempt from.
That's what it
acreage
says.
requirements.
Yeah.
So,
you're exempt for acreage requirements to have the 3 units on
Right.
1 lot.
no, but
The lot
It doesn't
itself
say
can't
that,
be.
it doesn't say, it doesn't, no, it never says,
So
it
what-
doesn't say
Well,
on
what
1
Kurt's
lot.
bringing up is this says that ADUs and main dwellings are exempt from acreage density requirements.
Period.
So if you build a house and ADUs, you're exempt from acreage requirements.
You're right.
you're right. You are.
That's what Kurt's trying to say.
I know. Well, no, but he's
No, no.
trying to go one step further and saying I can subdivide and do it on each one of them.
You're exempt from from acreage requirements.
If you
Right.
can subdivide it,
Where
you
does
can
it
build
say
3
that?
more units.
Where
No,
does it
what-
say that's not permitted? It says that it's exempt. That section is exempt from density.
The ADUs.
there's no longer a density requirement.
Yeah,
So,
There's a lot size requirement, which
Right.
is independent of density, so they still
Yeah.
can't go below the lot size.
Right, they still have to, if they're gonna subdivide, it's gonna be a 3 acre lot. Or a 5 acre lot.
and
Exempt from that.
you can't do it,
It's different,
you
well,
can't
there's,
do 3 and 2 because that would,
but
That would
there's
bring the
nothing,
two
there's no
below
language
the-
in there that says lot, there's no wording in there that says lot size. It just says density requirements.
We could.
But the lot size is dictated by
Yeah,
elsewhere.
by density,
Zone. By
which
zoning.
is a density requirement. Lot size
If you
is
just-
a
if you only
density
accept the
requirement.
ADUs and not the main dwelling,
Right.
fine.
Right.
Now, like I said, if this
But
is in the
it says
RSA's,
and main dwelling.
That's what I'm saying, if you get rid of that, you're fine, cause if the,
so if it's in the RSA, the RSA needs to be,
I'm looking to try
right,
to.
you can,
Yeah,
you can overrule my objections, but I would just take that out and let them go to the RSA's if they,
Give me 5 minutes, I think I can get that up.
well, it's hard to read because it's gonna come up really,
No,
they lump things together, they can lump so much together.
You have it? there?
that's a terrible
Yeah, I
bill.
have to go to, convert
That's-
it to a Word document and separate everything.
That's cause
Understand it.
it's the omnibus bill or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
got it.
Did you know omnibus is?
oh, you broke it out?
I did not know that.
Now you do.
How about omnibus?
Never heard of it.
Right. It's an
But
invent,
berserk is another Norwegian.
berserk.
Mhm.
The omnibus bill has driven me berserk.
And the Supreme Court would rule saying, hey, that's what it says.
Okay, so we're gonna scratch, new on number 3,
Mhm.
and we're gonna scratch 4 entirely. Are we agreed on that?
We can't scratch 4 entirely.
It's in the RSA.
It's in the RSA.
I
Yeah,
thought I
we don't
just
have
heard
to-
somebody say, well, scratch it from here, and if people wanna look at the RSA, they can, and
Okay.
maybe we'll get the RSA fixed.
Okay,
So
no,
it's
Sure,
clarified.
follow you guys on what.
Um. Anything else people wanna talk about on this?
I
Kurt?
do have,
You found it?
well, it is a little more complicated.
Of course.
That exact wording doesn't, it's what, a municipality may require a property at a lot, have a minimum lot size of up to 1/2 acre in order to have 2 or more accessory dwelling units. Yeah, that's with town water and sewer, that's not a problem for us.
They have a way of wording it in here. It says one accessory dwelling unit shall be allowed without additional requirements to lot size, frontage, space limitations, et cetera. Instead of saying is exempt, we could just say
Right.
accessory dwelling, we could go in the other direction and say accessory dwelling units are allowed without additional lot size, requirements for lot size.
Right, see, that's where,
Right.
that's the difference, lot
Okay.
size versus
Okay,
And that would,
density.
that's it, right. Okay,
Okay,
Yeah, I have a problem with the 1,200 square feet. I did some looking and single wide modular homes would typically range from around 700 square feet to a little over 1,000
Yeah.
square feet. With the most of them in the range of 700 to just under 1,000.
Yeah.
And that's for a single wide modular home.
right,
ADUs is supposed to be less than a home. That's the whole thing and definition of an ADU.
I don't find your argument persuasive.
right.
well,
Yeah,
once we get into tiny homes, we're gonna,
well, we're talking, fine, I mean, but then apartment sizes. I looked up the typical apartment size for ones that are currently in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And they're in the 800s, anywhere from 5 to 8, up to 900 square feet for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment.
This was the reason we moved it to, part of the reason we moved it to 1,200 was the whole generational housing. That you've got a retired couple and they don't wanna cram themselves into 800.
Yeah, I mean, 1,200 is very comfortable. I've lived in a 1,200.
Well, yeah, I just, but it's, I'm just saying, this is supposed to be an ADU, it's supposed to be an accessory dwelling, not a principal dwelling. So I just think 1,200 is excessive.
I think 1,200 is in the state language.
No,
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 750.
750 cannot be less than 750.
yeah.
It's actually.
No, the new state language.
Change it?
It's not 12.
It's not 12?
No.
I didn't see that.
Concord State, NH.US, still, it may not have been updated yet, but it still publishes 750.
Okay, I know at one
But it
time,
might,
They were looking to go.
1,200 was the figure that was presented,
Right.
and if it got changed,
I think they talked about it, but it didn't pass. If,
Right. Never even,
that could be.
yeah,
Well,
probably didn't even get out of committee.
No,
I say stay with 12.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
That was 5 months ago.
1,200. Yeah.
I'm very happy with 1,200 for an ADU.
Could we talk about conditioned space?
We sure can. What's your concern? That's a definition.
Yeah,
Well,
Definition.
well, it was what Phil was saying, how you get around it. He gave us a little,
Oh, yeah, you could get, we understand, you can get around it by
with
having,
the water heater in the unheated space and it heats it up enough and. So
oh,
nothing
no, there was even a
freezes.
better one than that, which
dryer?
was you put 3 garages as a part of the principal building. Because the principal building has no square footage requirement. So you could have three garages that are heated garages.
Yeah.
But they're a part of the principal building.
Yeah.
The 2 ADUs
get to use them.
get to use them.
I'd say.
If it
do
happens,
that,
it happens.
Do that, let 'em-
Right,
what the heck.
So if someone has say a glassed-in porch or something that they enter to get to the front door.
Yep.
That's not part of the square footage of the house?
No,
It's not heated, it's not air
heated.
conditioned.
right.
Why am I taxed on open porches?
Well, because you're
Because
taxed on
they're
it.
an
That has nothing to do with,
yeah, on the value of.
Living
yeah, that's the value of the property.
And a woodshed.
Add to the square,
right.
right,
That's, well, it's a
exactly.
different issue. What would probably happen with an enclosed porch is at some point, 2-3 years down the road, say, well, if we put a heater in here
We could use it 12 months a year.
or 3 seasons.
yeah, we'll
We'll
insulate it.
never know about that.
Right.
My gosh, I guess we just never know about that.
Right.
It happens all the time. I've seen it.
I don't know where he got his definition from, or he just came up with his own, but, I went online and just looked what building codes and
Yep.
stuff, and there's one that I found from, it's called the ICC Digital Codes, and it seems to be like a building code. They had a whole list of definitions. And their definition of conditioned spaces is similar, but just different wording. An area, room, or space that is enclosed within the building thermal envelope and that is directly or indirectly heated or cooled. So it's,
I go with that one.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
more of a
More
professional,
specific.
right.
yeah. And like I said, it was this website that popped up that said ICC digital codes and I
Okay.
tried to go through the building
Yeah.
codes thing, but it was like, no. If you talk to the building inspector, if you want something else.
I'll call you 1,200 and raise you the condition space.
Yeah.
Send it to me.
Yeah, the concept of directly or indirectly heated or cooled, I think is important that we get it in, because you can have a 3-season or 4-season porch
Mhm.
that's off of your living room. And it's cool, it's heated in the winter from the house.
Yeah.
And maybe you get some solar gain from it
Right,
during the
right.
day.
Yeah,
And at night, you shut the doors.
right, 'cause we're like a sunroom.
Yeah,
Basically.
So in that case, would that be part of the 1,200 or no?
it would
Yeah,
be,
it would be,
because it's indirectly heated.
That's, it's a good definition, because I was just thinking about my house, we only have heat in 3 rooms,
Right,
like directly. The rest
Yeah.
of it is just
Yeah.
indirect.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't heat my bathroom, it doesn't count.
No, that's a good definition, Kirk.
That's a good definition.
All right,
That's a keeper.
Rob, did you get that language, or?
He's gonna
he's
send it.
Send it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Anything else on ADUs?
Nope.
Okay. Moving along, zoning rewrite project.
Oh, we're doing
About
parking.
parking.
Parking, I'm sorry, parking.
Yeah, very much.
Rob, can you throw Tim's amendment?
It's the only change.
You both should also have printed copies.
You've got,
I didn't pick one. There it is.
The house parking.
There are only 4 words.
Yep.
well, this new version is also worded as if it was a warrant article, so this more or less would be what would show us on the warrant.
The only question would be that exempt area in the central business district, Main Street and around there.
We didn't touch that, we left that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there a contradiction between in all zoning districts versus that exemption?
See item 5. Not sure that addresses your question.
Special exception may be granted from 4 line for parking loading areas for new uses discussion.
Oh, you can just add that section on Main Street to this. To 409.
Hang on, it's,
I'm not even sure where that language is in the ordinance.
so, it is, item 7. Parking in the community business district.
That's item 5 on my sheet.
No, I know, but in the existing
Oh,
ordinance.
existing,
it's
okay.
item 7. And it says, in the community business district, special exception may be granted from these requirements for parking for new uses and structures that predate the adoption of this ordinance and non-conforming lots.
Yeah.
So I just reword it.
Yep.
Same wording.
Yeah, I guess it covers it.
I got a question, several questions, on the dimensions, I think just having 2 dimensions is confusing. Just go with one or the other.
I like this.
Yeah.
Cause we put a lot of time into arguing about this
Right.
Yeah, but
and we're
This is what-
recommending 10 by 20 with a minimum of 9 by 18.
Right.
Anyone who drives a pickup truck knows 9 by 18 is awful tight.
And we're leaving it up to the homeowner
well,
or the
Or
Or the
the
business.
developer,
or the
Yeah.
developer.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this would be a developer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, on number 2, residential parking. I would just add the clause. Parking for all residential uses, including Accessory dwelling units, I would add, but not limited to. All uses, including accessory dwelling units, and then blah, 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 but not limited to townhouses, condominiums, blah, blah, blah. Just to cover your bases, it just covers your bases.
Do we wanna say housing unit or dwelling unit from a point of view of consistency throughout the ordinance?
Where? David?
In number 2, residential parking, the last line. You say 1 parking space per housing unit. And I'm saying, should we be I'm asking, should we be consistent
Dwelling unit,
and
then
call
you're
it a
calling
dwelling unit?
That goes against everything in the zoning,
What?
being consistent.
Well, it's a run.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
Haven't you learned that I'm a renegade yet?
It's a run-on sentence and it starts with, saying dwelling unit
And it's
and
calling it a
ends with
housing.
housing unit. The same sentence.
I know.
So you need 2 parking spaces, 1 for the dwelling unit and 1 for the housing unit.
And put a semicolon in there just for the hell of it.
Then put an exclamation mark at the end.
Maybe a few
You
emojis.
have to use accessory dwelling unit because
Yes.
that's an ADU.
Yeah,
Right,
Can't change that.
right.
I would just say dwelling unit.
Yes.
I mean, you know, if you have a multifamily structure,
Right.
it has X number of dwelling units
Yeah.
within the structure.
Yeah, a single family home is 1 dwelling unit.
Right.
Yeah,
So let's call it a dwelling unit.
Dwelling unit.
There's also, back to the CB question you had, David. 401.4 in the existing zoning ordinance, we're not making any changes to that. And that has, and it says, 401.4 in the item R, in the community business district, parking areas will as a minimum conform to section 409, which is the new section 409. And within the downtown area defined such. Mixed use, structures are exempted from dimensional with the exception of building height and parking requirements. And it further goes on to say parking may be leased or owned or on or off site. So. By leaving that, I don't think there's a conflict between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I withdraw my objection.
Number 3, I would also add, but not limited to, on the list of things.
So what you're saying is parking for residential uses, including that list, but not, including but not limited to.
Including but not limited to. I would, someone can come in with a use that's not listed and say, it's not listed.
Okay.
My next one is on.
Yeah, but not limited to makes it real vague. Because then all of a sudden we're saying, wait a minute, we're gonna tell you what is not, what the not limited tos are. I don't see anything there that is not encompassed in what we're talking about.
Well, I don't know if I don't see that it would hurt putting that phrase in.
No, because if they come with, it's, when they come in with something, we can either agree that it's part of this or not.
tiny home.
It's all lodging uses.
Yeah.
If some new temporary lodging use comes up, then it's automatic,
Camps,
it's automatically encompapped would be.
campground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Campground is a temporary use.
You may as well just add campground.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, but you're just trying to come up with all the possibilities.
Okay, not
And
limited to. I
if,
don't
and
have
if
a-
they come in, and if we
Right,
can either say it has to meet this or it's exempt.
yeah,
We have that option.
yeah, okay.
Um. I have a question on 5 is why?
Cause that's an existing zoning
Go up to
ordinance.
5.
Now, I still have, my question stands. Why?
Why? Because there isn't enough parking downtown to accommodate everything.
Right,
And that has been our practice for as long as I've been on this board.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily agree with it, but in terms of
Well, I guess it's,
economic
The
development
reality.
well, but I
downtown.
guess it says special exception, which means it goes to ZBA.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any other mechanism.
Yeah.
right,
It's a necessity, really.
Yeah, okay,
yeah. I
all
mean,
right. Number 7, I would just delete everything except the last sentence. I think the last sentence covers it.
which is the lighting, yeah.
Which is the lighting ordinance.
The lighting.
It has to be the
Yeah.
lighting ordinance.
yeah,
Right, I didn't actually look into that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So, paper.
As we're editing on number 6, first word, it just needs to be parking areas. They don't actually have to be special. We just need parking areas that are provided necessary to meet the requirements.
right.
They don't have to be different than any other one.
Special parking areas, it can be in the regular parking area.
Right,
Got
Yeah.
that
and
one?
they can be the same as all the other spots, if all the spots,
Should we say designated?
no, just parking areas.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's parking areas. They could all be handicap accessible.
Right, because the ADA is gonna, the ADA law is gonna say what it has to be.
Right.
Right, all we're really trying to say is you have to follow the ADA.
Yeah. Right,
And if you don't, you get people who drive around looking for them. And,
We'll let you know.
yes, like a lawsuit.
yeah,
Is there a definition for a parking lot in appendix A? I assume there is, but I didn't double check it.
In the existing ordinance?
Yeah,
yeah,
Yes, there.
yeah, there is.
is it consistent with, 9, the 6 spaces, or is it different?
Well, that was the area that was
Yeah,
in conflict in the existing.
okay,
Right,
I think this sounds good, I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure we didn't
Yeah,
create a conflict.
you know.
No.
The only thing sorry.
anyone else have any thoughts on parking?
We've certainly spent a lot of time on parking.
Well, it's a topic that deserves.
that's right. Because there's always a lack of it. And nobody can do anything about
Last
it.
time we talked about parking.
Yeah, we could
I
have
have
those
a
two.
comment on it, but not on this ordinance.
Okay,
Around town, the town owns some little scraps of land here and there. And it would be very nice if we could, as people are looking into parking issues, and look at the town making them a parking place now.
2/10 of an acre lots and the 4/10 of an acre lots and,
Right?
yeah,
And right at what did Dagon get renamed?
Flanders.
Flanders Street.
Yeah.
And Route 4, there's a 12-foot section right there, but the town owns.
The town owns.
And
Right.
I know this because I found it online and asked,
Oh, you.
I asked Ryan Aylesworth if he could look at maybe getting Advanced Transit to make a stop there.
Yeah.
So there's a strip that I guess the apartment house mows, but it actually belongs to the town and it
Yep.
could be 4 more parking places and.
Yep.
So
Oh, yeah,
there's a lot of little ones around.
You go look at the list when you go on the GIS map, and there's 30 or 40 properties that are small properties that most of them don't serve a purpose. Then you get out of it. Nobody, you couldn't do anything with, but there's probably 10 or 12 of them that you could use for parking spaces.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So sorry.
They don't have to be well advertised,
Nope.
because if you live here, you'll know where they are.
Rough district.
That may be why one of our TIF things
Yeah.
was to look at parking.
Yeah, because there are a
Planning and
lot of them that are
signing.
in the TIF district.
Yeah, that's one of the things
Yeah,
that's being brought forward is to
yeah,
look at what those options are next year.
yeah.
And potentially do something about that.
Yeah.
Someone said something about a study group for parking. What would,
That was Robin talking about TIF, about
Oh,
trying to
okay.
figure, like, one of the things was, is
Right.
what do we do about parking?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is in TIF, so there's,
Yeah.
I don't know the answers or have much
No.
knowledge about it, but there's things there, like what you're talking about, that we can look at.
Yeah, I mean, for parking, I'm hoping you expand it more than just the tip boundaries. Do more of a downtown,
From a study standpoint, we can certainly cross leverage from a,
like, I know from the money point,
From a-
it's
from a
step
spending
over,
of
but
funds, however, from a, like, let's
Right.
study parking in Enfield, yeah, we can cross leverage that.
Right.
yeah,
But there's limitations on the funds expenditures as well.
right,
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is to cross leverage that. And
Yeah.
look at town.
Yeah.
Well, the village, I should say.
Anything else on parking? Okay,
Nope.
moving on, zoning rewrite project. Our last meeting, we decided as a group that we would put out a RFQ and put the whole project out for competitive bidding, assuming that we get the HOP grant, the HOP 2 grant.
Not bidding.
What?
We don't use the word bidding.
Okay, competitive evaluation.
Not sure what the word they use.
We're
We're
gonna
put
put it
request
out,
for proposal.
and we are gonna look at ultimately 3 proposals. Or proposals from 3 different contractors. Tim worked on the RFP part of it. I did some editing on the HOP grant part of it to remove any references to resilience. So that would all go out. Where does Ed stand on this?
I think we're real close. We have, a format that we had approved by our attorney. We just want to make sure that we've got everything, all the disclaimers, and like you said to him, that we had used it as a base, so I think we're 99% there, I think we just, One last look.
We gotta get this thing on the street.
Yeah. yeah, we wanted to, basically one more time to talk about it here, and then we can put it up on our,
Yeah. So do we wanna put it's right there. So this is what,
Well, let me just summarize this thing.
Tim drafted.
So what we're doing, we would send this our request for qualification statements, which are just basically the firm is gonna send us their glossy brochure and tell us how great they are. But they're not gonna give us a proposal.
Right.
This would go out to all of the people on that list. And how many are on that list?
40.
A lot of people.
40 to 50, maybe, I don't know.
2/3 of those probably won't respond for a reason or another. But we'll probably get 10 or 15 in, maybe 20. And then what we should do is, do a real, like, set aside an hour, and say at the end of the hour, you're gonna pick 3. Criteria can be really subjective, but you just roll through those, pick out 3, and then we request proposals from those 3 firms. Now that,
Is one of the 3 going to be, I guess,
Free incomes, if we choose them,
oh, see,
right?
Yeah, it's not on the blank page.
Right.
and, so, question is, not so much what the wording of this is, because again, all it's gonna do is solicit these glossy brochures, right? When we need to make that, pare that down to 3 that we're gonna request proposals from, who wants to be involved in that?
I'll work
Obviously
on
Dave,
that.
Rob,
Sure.
and,
I'll do it.
I would like to not be, because I wrote this part and
Yeah.
figured, well, okay, I don't wanna be. But I will. Anyway, so those 3, pick those 3, then we do an RFP, request for proposals. Give them a couple of weeks, they'll send their proposals in based on all of our information. And, it's those that then we probably have the companies come make a presentation to the board. And so everyone would vote as to which one to pick. Is that more or less what we're thinking?
Yeah,
Do we think we could get that by like the second meeting in December?
If we can get the RFQ out on the road,
Yeah,
Wait
that's why I'm
for
asking, do
now.
you think we could have it, because we're probably not gonna know until the end of December. Whether or not we've got the grant, so if we could meet with them before that, like the second meeting in December. As long as there's not a lot of, I don't think you're gonna see a lot of people coming in with proposals. And public hearings. You normally don't in that Thanksgiving and Christmas area. People don't come in with new things. So then we would at least have, at that point, be able to decide who we want to have if we get the grant. And then the select board would have to approve it anyways, and that would give them early January to decide.
is that what you're envisioning?
yeah, I just wanna get the RFQ out.
Right, cause they can't decide unless we get the grant, so. It's not like you can send it to the select board in December, you don't know there's a grant, cause they're the one that's gonna have to sign the contract. So they can't do it until January.
Everybody happy with that scenario? Okay.
Yeah.
So after we had that meeting, I reached out to Steve Whitman from Resilience and told him what we as a board had decided and that the town's policy on contracts over 10,000 was, had to go out to bid. And he was very understanding of that. But he also said if something else comes along, they are likely to take it, which I told him, you know, I'm in business, I would do the same thing. And we agreed that we would, keep in touch with each other and, you know, kind of be fully transparent with each other. So that's where that thing, with resilience stands. And, you know, hopefully we'll be able to complete our process without Resilience getting another offer. So, we did that. Let me just mention a word on the master plan. We met a week ago, Monday, I guess it was. And we had the last 3 chapters that we sat down and we made comments, red line changes, all that kind of stuff. And we are, or rather Resilience is going to be working on that one, or those 3 chapters to incorporate the changes that we made. And they will, when's our next meeting scheduled, Rob? Let's see if I have it on my calendar.
I think it's early November.
Well, we're at second and fourth Wednesdays, 18th.
November 18th at the community building.
And you got it in the 25th, next the week after for me too. I sent an email around about the dates. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
18th is what I have,
18th and the 25th.
18th and 25th. So 18th, we will review our, the changes that they made to the 3rd chapters. And then on the 25th will be kind of a final review before it comes back to the planning board and we have our public hearings.
And it's also gonna get sent to all the committees. Once they give us their
That's
corrected versions after the 18th, we'll send it to the Conservation Commission, the Heritage Commission, the Energy Commission, the Rec Commission. Because those organizations all had some input on the front end. We didn't want to send drafts out without all the changes that they've made. Because the task force, went through it line by line and had a lot of changes, so. I'm sure it would be redundant corrections from them that. And we did have a few people feeding in that showed up at our meetings. I think, Meredith did give us some input on Heritage when we did the Heritage chapters, and we did have somebody else.
Dr. Theis was here for
Dr. Theis for
something or other,
conservation. Yep.
for conservation. So I think we're moving along well on that. I noticed a slight difference in writing style between the first 2 that they've given us and the last 3. But I have not asked to see if they were written by the same people or by different people, but at some point we'll find out. Overall, I think it's gonna blend nicely with the first 5 chapters. The casual reader probably will not be able to pick up that they were done by totally 2 different groups. So that's good. Next item is the calendar of town meeting dates.
Yes, I've had a copy of that. Let me just grab that.
Okay,
Print it out.
we have no one here from public, so we're not gonna do any public comments.
Well, if I may, and I think this goes to, again, I have to point out, once again, we have an incomplete old business list. We really should have, I think going forward here, work group reports under the zoning rewrite project. And those should be listed out. And we should just ask ourselves at each meeting, if we have time during that meeting, and some meetings we may not have time. For each of just to give a quick verbal, this is what I've been able to accomplish over the last couple of weeks kind of thing.
All right, well, let's add that in the sequence of reports with select board, land use administrator.
Well, I think I'd put it, it's up to you, but I think I'd put it under old business. But that's neither here nor there.
I guess my thought, and we're admittedly getting into semantics, is that an agenda, as I understand it, and reading the definition in Webster's or something, is a list of things that we are going to be talking about at a meeting. And people who read the agenda and come to our meetings or tune in on TV would be expecting specific things. If it's listed as a report, it could happen, it could not happen, depending on what people, have accomplished over the 2-week period. But you and I talk about that if you want later.
Yeah, I'm fine, David, however you want to put it in there, but as long as we got that list, like formatting and structure. If we do a quick review where we're at. You know what I mean? So formatting and structure, Eric and I have been back and forth on you fill them in.
Well, Tim did a great job of putting together a full outline of a potential structure, and then I went in and did a potential outline of an individual zoning section and put together a template, which I don't know if you've had time to look at it yet. But just put together a potential template for each individual zone, which you could then say, okay, you're doing R5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Fill out this template.
Yeah.
And then everybody would be filling out the same template. Every time you're doing .3A, it's the same thing, which makes it really easy to read in the future. If you don't use it, you just write none or left blank on intentionally. And then that also is a structure you can hand over to a potential consultant to make sure everything is written in the proper manner.
So is that ready for distribution?
No, we got a little more work to do.
Okay. Well, take your time and get it perfect.
We gotta get this thing done, so we're not gonna take our time. I don't have anything to report on the Enfield Village District. I really haven't done anything yet on that. I could say Shaker Village, I've met with the Shaker Museum. Had a really, really interesting conversation with them. And which just further reinforced in my head that we've got to be very specific about what we want to put in the regulations there to enable what, their mission and their goals, plans maybe. While at the same time balancing that out with the residences, residential property owners that are nearby, that sort of thing. Meeting tomorrow with the homeowners associations there. If anyone would like to attend, I think it's 10 o'clock. And I'll just let me know and I'll send you the location. And let's see, and then that's the two I was working on. Yeah, okay, that's it.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Anybody else have anything?
I can give you a quick update on the lakeshore.
Okay.
So I've done some research and I have centered on 5 towns that have lakeshore districts in some way, some sort. One of the districts was Alton, and I actually spoke to a guy there who was involved in the writing of that part of that plan for Alton. Really quite interesting. He recommended that they created this some time ago, but he recommended that we go to and get advice from the planning commission. Because rather than recreate the wheel, they probably got something that we can use, or New Hampshire Lakes. So I don't know, I'd love a contact at both of those. I think I have the contact for New Hampshire Lakes, but I'm not sure about the Upper Valley planning. In any event, I have copied and plagiarized my favorite parts from all 5 towns. And have put it into a format that now I'm trying to adjust so that it makes sense. But in any event, Bill said that he wanted to help, so as soon as I get it readable, I'm gonna pass it off to Bill so that he can, take a look at it, and then, once he and I come to a conclusion that it's a decent draft, then we've got to get the next set of people involved to look at it, which I'll probably talk to Rob, but I'm thinking Dan Reagan and some of those people from the, lake associations, try to get a couple of key people from the 2 different associations.
Is there a association up at Spec Pond?
Not that I know of. Rob, do you know if there's an association at Spectacle Pond?
But never.
Yeah, so Mascoma and Chris.
Yeah,
So, those 2 organizations are pretty good.
they are.
You might also wanna reach out to, at least send an email and see what happens, the other regional planning commissions,
Yep.
and see what they have.
Yeah.
Cause I'm assuming they know what towns have major lakes in.
Yeah. Yeah, so this guy's point was, look, we created it from scratch and wrestled with it. You may not want to do that.
Mhm.
I did it anyways, because I talked to him last. But anyway, so I've got a very rough draft that I'll pass to Bill as soon as it's presented.
Sounds good. Anybody else?
Well, I agree to conservation zone districts. Haven't really done anything with it yet. Probably not gonna propose many changes at all to it. People that live there don't hear complaints about people living there. Nobody seems to come in and say, I wanna do this, unless Rob is getting stuff and he's telling them, no, you can't do that. But you don't hear a lot of activity happening up there. But in Linda and I would just decide to agree with, work with Linda and do the Enfield Center, and we were sitting there this evening before the meeting, coming up with some ideas of how to move forward with that, and I'm gonna give Rob some jobs to do some, it'll be quick and easy for you on the, one is be able to print off either mailing labels or something with the R1 zone that's currently in that area. And then also, if you're able to pull up the any mailing list or any mailing address that has the Enfield Center zip code.
And
That's just post office boxes, isn't it?
No, it's a separate zone. It's a geographical zone by the PO.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they don't do any rural deliveries. It's
Right.
only
Really?
post office boxes.
it's only PO boxes.
I
Yeah,
didn't
they
know
don't,
that.
they don't have it. It comes out of Enfield. Any of the delivery comes out of the Enfield
So,
post office.
so a street address does not use that zip code.
I don't believe so.
Correct.
I think it does.
But we'll see.
For some reason, I believe they do, but that's something to look at.
I'll just say they probably don't, because the town I live in or grew up in, did not have a post office, and they used
Right.
Keene zip code to
Right,
deliver to the whole town.
yeah.
And in fact, there was a time when they started trying to do school funding based on zip code. So
Right.
they tried to
That's what
send
it is.
all of the surrounding towns
Right.
funding to Keene instead of to the surrounding
Right.
towns.
But that would be something I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from the couple of EDD mailings that I've been involved in is that the Enfield Center Post Office is just, that zip code is just post office boxes.
Right.
And I think if you go on the USPS website and look for every door delivery and drill down to Enfield and Enfield Center, it tells you how many street addresses and how many post office boxes are in the particular zip code.
Mhm.
So that might be an easy way to find it. Or you could probably just go over to the Enfield Center Post Office when they're open, whatever that is. and find out.
Center. People that live in Enfield Center.
You wanna send them a.
Yeah.
The
What we-
concept was to start with a mailing
Yeah,
and a questionnaire and follow it up with an in-person meeting. But we only wanted to get people in Enfield Center, not everywhere.
right. And
You might end up sticking it on their door, although most of the people in Enfield Center have a PO box in Enfield set up.
The meeting over there in the church basement about the Enfield Center Meeting House,
Right.
sort of an original one. I think we made just two posters, one at the
Right.
store, and I can't remember the post office, or maybe it was just one at the store.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you know, it's like,
And word spread, and we filled that room.
mhm,
It's, you know, no extra seats. So I think word would spread quickly.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think so
wanted
too.
to get people the information of the questions out there and things for them to think about.
Yeah.
And then get them together.
yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
On the calendar.
Calendar.
Is anybody doing the conservation, or sorry, commercial industrial zone? I don't think we have anybody working on that one. We may have to come back to that one.
I have Bill listed from the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay. Dan, had you anything to report on the rule?
I've got nothing to report on rural at this point. It's a big area.
I think we went around the town.
Okay. Calendar.
So just in case anybody wants it, you can find this on the New Hampshire Municipal Association. These are the important dates for local officials for 2025 traditional town meeting, March, which is what we are. Monday, November 11th is the first day to accept petition to amend the zoning ordinance, which we did have that happen a couple of years ago. Somebody petitioned something. Was it the
Conservation Commission.
Yeah. So there's a 30-day period there from November 11th to December 11th where you can accept petition warrant articles for zoning changes. For us, these are the dates. Friday, January 10th is the last day to post and publish notice for the first hearing on proposed adoption of amendment to zoning ordinance. That's RSA 675:3, where we're supposed to have it out 10 calendar days before January 20th. And January 20th is the last day to hold the first public hearing on the adoption of the amendments to the zoning ordinance. Then Thursday, January 23rd is the last day to publish and post final planning board. So we can have two. If we have a hearing in January and there's a lot of changes or feedback that you guys say, oh, we got to go back to the drawing board, you can come back and have a second hearing for proposed zoning amendments. And the day that we got to have those, February 3rd,
Right.
last day for the planning board to hold final public hearing on adoption of zoning amendments.
Yeah.
And then we have to deliver our copy by Tuesday, February 4th. It's the official proposed document that we have to hand over to the town clerk.
Right.
For inclusion on the warrant, essentially. So those are our sort of key dates. So our glide path now would be, we need to have a noticed hearing up by Friday, January 10th.
For that.
We
You
want
want
to
to
have, I think we did it last time.
We usually
was
do
in
it earlier
December.
than that.
We did it in December.
Yep,
But
these are the drop dead dates, so I
Yeah.
can go before them.
So, could you get with Ed and decide when he needs to get the drafts to the attorney?
Okay. Yeah.
You know, build in some time there for their review and give us a deadline by which we need to.
I would propose that we shoot for our second meeting in
Second meeting in
December. to have our
December
first
and then
hearing.
have the second one if we needed our first meeting in January.
Yeah, are you guys
Which is
agreeable to
good.
that?
for public hearings, but the question is, when do we have to get the drafts to the attorneys to give the attorney time to review before,
I would say early December, we should have,
I would say, probably,
the first meeting in December. You guys can look at it.
Yeah, because we're doing it early. That's gonna be early in the month.
well, we're gonna have two meetings in December,
Right.
and we should be able to sign off on everything, I would hope,
2 weeks from,
in the, I'm gonna say in the first meeting in November.
that's our next meeting.
That's our next meeting.
Sure,
Yeah, cause we,
right,
I think we got the parking nailed down and ADUs nailed down.
yeah,
The last thing we need is that CB, Route 4 CB thing.
Just
Well,
eliminating the Route 4.
I think we
district
have
and
that,
adopting the CB districts.
Yeah, but
You
there's
just wanna have
a
the
little more
wording.
to it.
just.
Yeah. That's fairly simple, so that will be.
So you wanna have everything, at least a draft version of everything for the next meeting.
Yes,
Yeah, we want to send it to the lawyer by the second week in November. Give them time.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And hold our public hearings,
in December,
one in December, and the first one in January.
yeah,
Is your next
Yeah.
meeting is 2 weeks from today?
Right.
that should give you enough time to button up all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
amendments.
Now, with the Route 4 and the CB, I think if you find out what the old CB district boundaries were, and just say the new CB district is gonna be within these bounds. Route 4 district is deleted.
Right.
And the new CB district shall be everything included within this boundary lines.
Yeah,
That would be the simplest way, and you
Yeah.
just find out the old ordinance, where the boundary lines originally were,
Right.
that wording. I got,
Then we also have to write the narratives.
The narratives are, the
We
narratives
probably-
after,
shouldn't do that until after the lawyers look at it.
well, you can't do it until after you've got the final wording either.
Yeah, from the lawyers.
Well, no,
Public hearing.
from the public hearing,
Okay, yeah.
which is why you can't wait until February 4th, because the narrative has to go in, and they normally want to get it, they normally send it to the printer by February 6th. Which is why you want to have your hearings early. That gives us 2 or 3 weeks to write the narrative and get it to Elisa.
Okay.
Yep.
So next meeting, we will have our final drafts for approval.
I just, if we talked about this, in the past, and just void permission, or, okay, I guess. Working with Rob to look at the submission requirements that is required for, application, site plan and subdivision regs. Currently, what we have is really basic. And I think could use a good update and just a complete rewrites. And someone to spend some time with Rob and just come up with proposals. How does this format look, these questions look?
You got 6 months before you're traveling again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long winter.
I know,
Yeah,
It's things like having the signature of the
yeah,
property.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
New application.
Yeah, I mean, typically it was a letter, we got a letter.
a letter from
Yeah.
the agent.
Yeah,
He's
saying
acting
he
as
has
the
permission
agent.
to do this.
but it could be something that's on the application that,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Just
it
the
would be one of the
signature saying,
checkboxes.
this is my agent.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
the ones from city Lebanon that, they kind of summarize the issues, if you will. It's like, okay, it's in this district, it's in this zone, whatever, and everything is pretty straightforward except for these two things, or whatever. bring our attention to
Yeah.
what we ought to think about. Yeah, stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
That would be
right,
helpful.
see, like the waivers, it's like, this, you're supposed to submit this stuff, and he didn't, but you didn't ask for a waiver either. So,
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second, all in favor?
I
Opposed? We're adjourned
need to see you.
at 8:55.